Okie dokie. Hi there, Founder fans. Jason here. You see that smooth transition? I just fixed my transition, though I did mess with the color and I'm a weird color red. Hi, thank you for coming to Study Hall. I hope you can deal with the weird colors. Matt, Grace, Ashley, hi. Thank you guys so much for coming. This is Study Hall. I feel a little bit nervous now for really the first time, other than maybe the first live video I ever did. This is the first time I'm coming on with really very little to talk about. And that's because I wanted to provide this opportunity for you guys to ask questions. Let me know what you're interested in, what I can help with, the particular founders, if you're working on a project, anything of that nature, I am at your disposal. There are, of course, a few things I could talk about, would be happy to talk about. So throw some questions in here. I have set this to ultra low latency, so I should not be that far ahead of you when you ask your questions. Furthermore, I want to welcome Teresa, my newest Patriot on Patreon, for subscribing. Thank you for helping me offset these costs. Welcome to the team. I am releasing some videos over there in the next couple days that I just shot, but I did want to put out on the table that I have started a Discord channel. Now, I don't know a lot about Discord, but it seems... I know we have so many social medias, but essentially, it's a server that it's a founder of the day specific social media is one way to look at it. So we can communicate more regularly over there. I should have put a link in the description. I forgot to, but if you put in founder of the day as one word on Discord, then you should be able to find it. I think I can. I need to send out invites. I'm still figuring out myself. So anyone who knows about Discord, help us out. That would be great. Again, you guys have any questions? Now's a great time. I will pop over and I did want to... Oh, here it goes. I recently watched your video on James Armistead and wanted to know if there are any other Black Revolutionary heroes I've covered or planned on covering. Great question, Ashley. There are a good amount of Black Revolutionary heroes. I believe a few weeks ago I made a video on Salem Poor, who was a revolutionary from Massachusetts. Now, there were several Salem Poors. Yeah, Salem Poor. I did him just a few weeks ago, I think. He was a hero from, I believe he was from Massachusetts. There were a few Salem Poors at the time, actually. So some of the records can be a little fuzzy, but he was from Massachusetts. He joined the Continental Army because he was one of... in the North, it was more common than the South, but many times masters did permit their slaves to work off their debt, or even at times on their free time work an extra job away from their home and save up money and purchase their freedom. And all signs indicate that Salem Poor was one of these people who was able to work and purchase his own freedom, and after that was free, and then when the Revolutionary War broke out, fought with the Patriots. And what's really interesting about Salem Poor is he was part of this group of original black patriots who fought after Lexington and Concord, and in the Battle of Bunker Hill. And then when George Washington shows up, George Washington segregates the army. And primarily he does this not out of his own distaste for black people, but because he knew that, well, Boston was about to get a whole lot of soldiers from other colonies that might not be so keen on fighting the war as Massachusetts was and New England was, and also would not be super keen on seeing black people fighting alongside them. So Salem Poor was kicked out of the Continental Army, as were many black people, by George Washington when he got there. And then the British famously said, "Hey, slaves, if you run away from your masters and fight with us, we'll give you your freedom." And then George Washington saw that and said, well, if they're going to run away and fight, they might as well fight for us. And essentially offered the same, more or less the same... They didn't offer slaves their freedom, but they did offer black people the opportunity to fight in the Continental Army. And this was a time where attitudes towards, slaves and racism and black people were changing, slowly, but changing. Definitely changing at different rates throughout the colonies. Because famously this is 1775, and in 1780, Massachusetts would pass a constitution, and within 3 years, that constitution would be interpreted to have outlawed slavery. So, really interesting times. Good question. Let me see. While you guys are saying, you know what? I'm on my website here. I will pull up Black Patriots, which Uh, just to note, Black Patriots was how they were referred to by the first major book. The name of the author escapes me, but there was a book in the early to mid 1800s that discussed Black Patriots. It was written by a black man, and he called them Black Patriots, and that phrase has kind of stuck around. You know, trying to go with the modern lingo is difficult, but since that is what they were referred to essentially immediately after the revolution, it's usually how we still refer to black people. Got some stamps with Salem Poor on them. That's interesting because that stamp is the only image we know of Salem Poor, so that's what I used as my cover image for my article. And, you know, may or may not be what he looks like. It's an artist's interpretation. Let's see. I pulled up, again, some of the Black Patriots I've written about. Preaching abolition. I have trouble with his name, but Lemuel Haynes was, if I'm recalling right, he was from Connecticut. He ends up moving to, I believe it was Vermont. I guess I should open it up to make sure it's not New Hampshire. But he moves north, I think, to Vermont and becomes one of the main, most popular preachers in Vermont. He was half black. He had a black father and a white mother from Hartford, Connecticut. He was, a servant. We don't know if I don't know if he was an indentured servant or a slave servant, as they were called at the time, but he does eventually work his way out of servitude, becomes a deacon. He becomes the first licensed preacher of black or African American descent in America. He did fight it after Lexington. He did join the siege of Boston. He would be stationed at Fort Ticonderoga for a while, and then he becomes a Congregationalist pastor, and he serves in Vermont for 33 years, and then eventually moves to upstate New York. And he was an outspoken abolitionist before it was even called abolition. Back when they were still calling it manumission, he was very outspoken about it and became a leader of the anti-slavery movement. Let's see. He actually was against the American Colonization Society because he rightfully assumed it was a fruitless task that would never actually work. I was going to the Polish guy who created Washington's cavalry, Pulaski, and then there was another gentleman, and I have written about both of them. Real quick, I have written about, and again, I don't know if these are heroes or whatnot, but York, who was William Clark's slave when the Lewis and Clark expedition went out. He was essentially granted temporary freedom throughout the expedition for 2 years. You have Billy Lee, who was one of George Washington's head slave, and he was a slave, unfortunately. So, but he was, we talk about Alexander Hamilton being his right-hand man. Well, Billy Lee was literally in every room with George Washington in every scenario throughout the war. And as it's, it would be hard to see the war going the way it did without Billy Lee right at Washington's side the entire time, and every great number one needs number two. And, unfortunately in this situation, this number two was forced into servitude. Didn't have much of a choice, but he did tremendous work serving the nation. Palm Springs is a guy I'd stumbled onto. Portsmouth, as I've talked about many times, Portsmouth has had a large free population, and this started just as the revolution was coming. I talk about the Prince Whipple and the Whipple family as kind of leaders in that community, and they, it's weird because New Hampshire wouldn't actually outlaw slavery. I don't even know if they outlawed slavery until after the Civil War, but it just kind of faded away. I think there were 5 households with slaves in 1840, which I know is like 5 households with slaves, but and saying only 5 households downplays the tragedy of slavery. But at the same time, the people of New Hampshire, their attitudes had changed, and they took it upon themselves to just start liberating their slaves and giving them opportunities to survive. You talk about Joseph Whipple, for example. He gave his he gave his servant 50 acres of land and a house to go start his family and get by. So Portsmouth's a really interesting case. S coming in with Abraham Whipple, the Rhode Island Viking, the song Yankee Privateer is about. That's interesting. So what's funny is you would assume that there's a relationship between the Whipple family of New Hampshire and the Whipple family of Rhode Island. I have not found that. I'm sure if I traced it back long enough, there would be. But if anything, they're like very, very removed, distant cousins. And I actually have not written about Abraham Whipple of Rhode Island yet. I really should. I really should have. Because he was, if I'm not mistaken, hey, Misfit, let me know if you have any questions. That's what we're here for today. Abraham Whipple, if I'm not mistaken, was important with the Navy. Was he? And he was involved with the Gaspee affair, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not ignoring your first question, S. I am, or your other question about the Polish gentleman. I will get back to that in just a second. And I'm sure I've written about more Black Patriots over the years. They're just not coming up on this. You know, I made a video about Gabriel and his rebellion recently. Prince Hall I haven't talked too much about, but he's the father of Black Freemasonry. What Prince Hall was really interested in doing was he saw how the Freemason Society worked and whatever we might think about Freemasons nowadays, and even like the conspiracy about Freemasons started in the 30s, like right away. But Prince Hall was one of the people who said, well, if we want to be if black people want to be equal and elite in this society, then what we really need to do is get a Freemasonry lodge. And he did, and I believe it was called the First African Freemasons or something strange like that. So as for the Polish gentleman, I heard the second Polish guy that established Washington's cavalry in his will wanted the money to free slaves, but they ignored it when he passed away. Oh, I don't know that. So there's two guys. There's Casimir Pulaski. Now, Pulaski is a really interesting character because he was from Poland, and he threw a revolution there and tried to kidnap the king, and then that didn't work, so he ran away to the Ottoman Empire, what we would know today as Turkey, and they didn't want a king killer, a king kidnapper there, so he ran to France, and they didn't want a king kidnapper there either, and it just so happens that Silas Deane was signing every contract in the world to send soldiers over to America, and that's how Pulaski came to fight in this revolution in the United States. And he essentially started the cavalry because he had grown up as royalty and had learned very much about cavalry and horseback riding. And he unfortunately passes away, I think it was at Savannah, after starting it, after starting the cavalry and being a really, and at one point saving George Washington's life even. And there's another gentleman whose name is overlooked. And when you say the guys, I'm assuming it's this other guy because he's the only one I'm aware of, at least high ranking. Michael Kovatz. His name was spelled many different ways. He serves in the War of Austrian Succession. He volunteered with Prussia, and then he comes to the United States. He joins Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin sends a letter with Kovatz over to the United States that says, quotes will be, quote, most faithful unto death. And jump forward 250 years, and this is currently the motto of the Hungarian American Federation, which is, there are Hungarians who live in the United States now, and they have an organization, as many expatriates do, and cultures do, and this phrase, most faithful until death, is now, 250 years later, their motto. He comes to America, he eventually, he has trouble getting in because, Franklin and Silas Deane were just sending so many officers that the Continental Congress stopped accepting them. So Kovatz had trouble getting in, but Pulaski, who had already proven himself, speaks on his behalf and brings him in, and he becomes Colonel Commandant of the Huskers, which were soldiers on horseback that were similar to cavalry. And together these men, again, he is essentially Pulaski's number 2 in creating the United States cavalry. Great guy. And I think he does die during the war. If I'm not, again, I've written 900 articles in the last 2 years, so forgive me if I miss every little detail about every little person. Michael, yeah, he was killed in action at Charleston, unfortunately. Things coming in. I don't want to miss anyone. I'm great. Thanks for asking all these questions. Grace, would you know any stories surrounding the Bank of New York while Alexander Hamilton was alive beyond the founding of the bank? and the Bank of Manhattan Company, lost in the trenches of research. Thanks for covering the always has been interesting. Yeah. You're welcome, Grace. I will get back to that in a second, because that's a big topic. Ashley, yes for sure. Um, Kosciuszko. I can never say his name. I can never say his Kosciuszko. I can never say. I don't know if I've written an article about him. He's super interesting. Um, I have looked into Prudence White, so I did my research this weekend. Um, for the articles I'm going to start writing after I finish this video today, and I am going to write about Patience Wright this week, so I have not forgotten. It's just that one took a little bit extra research. No, Kosciuszko. No, okay. There is a cool biography that is about Kosciuszko. I can never. I just literally can't say his name. Kosciuszko, and Pulaski. There's like a joint biography of them. I have not written about him, and I actually haven't done nearly enough research in his life because he is another really interesting character. Yeah, it's a crazy name. Yes. So I am looking at Prudence Cummings Wright. I am going to write about her. If you remember, I confused her with Patience Wright. What's funny is she had a daughter named Patience, whose name was Patience Wright, but it's not the Patience Wright who went and would work as a patriot overseas. Bank of New York. I have. I know that, and I'm pulling up the article I wrote a while ago. When they were forming banks, Hamilton was kind of the middleman. Excuse me. During the founding of the Bank of New York. So his brother-in-law, John Baker Churchill, if you've seen the play Hamilton, Angelica Schuyler says she takes on a husband and he is not a lot of fun. That's the quote. He's not a lot of fun, but blah, blah, blah. That's actually a dramatic falsehood because her husband she took had come to the United States running from debt and started working and living in the United States under a false identity. And while he was working under this false identity, somehow he got the Continental Congress to hire him as an employee to do some auditing. So who did they send him to audit? Well, Major General Philip Schuyler, Hamilton's father-in-law. And while John Barker Church was there, he met Schuyler's daughter. And they didn't marry for money. They eloped. Yes, he was under the name John Carter, exactly. They eloped and ran off to France. Now, during this time, John Barker Church becomes friendly with a guy named Jeremiah Wadsworth. Jeremiah Wadsworth was a Connecticut merchant who became one of the suppliers of the Continental Army. And he made a fortune paying for the Continental Army, just like that trivia question we had the other day. A fortune getting supplies and selling it at a profit to the Continental Army. Don't hate on him. It was common at the time. And let's be frank, it's still very common nowadays. So these two men, Jeremiah Wadsworth and John Barker Church, become very, very close. And after the war, years later, after the war is over, they are in France. And their agent back home is Alexander Hamilton, is taking care of business every day, taking care of business every way. And he's doing it for Wadsworth and Church. And it's just about this time that they start talking secretly about setting up a bank in the United States. Wouldn't that be nice, to own a bank? Well, while they're away, Hamilton finds out that there is another group of people, Chancellor Robert Livingston, who is one of the big leaders of New York, has, essentially parallel to Chief Justice of the state for 20 years. He wants to set up a land bank too. He wants to set up a bank too. And he's working with several other people in the Congress. So what Hamilton actually does is Hamilton plays middleman between John Barker Church and but Church and Wadsworth. He's middleman between Church and Wadsworth and Robert Livingston and that group of investors. And instead of having two banks, he convinces everyone to come together and set up one bank. That way we can dominate the banking industry in the state of New York, and we can make a whole boatload of money. And he does. And that is the foundation of the Bank of New York, which today is BNY Mellon. It's still there. And this is done, again, this is just as the peace treaty is being signed. It's a few years before the Constitution's even written. Between February 23rd and March 15th of 1784, the entire bank was organized and set into motion. So the inaugural president was Alexander McDougall, and there were 13 initial board members, among whom were not only Hamilton, but Nicholas Lowe, who I've talked about in the past, a major landowner and person, William Maxwell, who fought in the war, and Isaac Roosevelt. And if the name Roosevelt sounds familiar, it's because this man's, and I don't know how many greats, but great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson was President Franklin Roosevelt. Started the Bank of New York. So if you ever wonder how the Roosevelts got so wealthy and became old money, as they used to be known, it's because they started, the Bank of New York with Alexander Hamilton and John Barker Church and Jeremiah Wadsworth and Robert Livingston and Nicholas Lowe and William Maxwell, and they held on to that for quite some time. So if you want to learn more, Grace, about the Bank of New York, I suggest you look into the difference, and I am not great at banking, but I'm going to read you my sentence I wrote here. You want to look into the difference between a land bank and a money bank. And according to what I wrote a year and a half ago, is the difference between a land bank and a money bank is, in oversimplified terms, one is backed in money and property, while one is only backed in money. So a land bank is, there's money supporting what the people are doing, but say they went bankrupt, they could, or lost a lot of money, they could then pay for it in land that was also owned by the bank, as opposed to a money bank, which is just money. Land banks are still used from time to time, too. Let me see. They were pretty old money. Speaking of old money, you guys can expect some discussion of John Jacob Astor in this following week, who was alive at this point and making his fortune. Actually had just the same year and time that they were forming the Bank of New York is when John Jacob Astor arrives in America. And it takes him a few years, but he ends up starting his trading empire that makes the name Astor so famous in the United States. No problem, Grace. There's a bunch of cool letters about that whole time period. Yeah, if you want to note, you know what, I'll copy and paste it here. This is just the article I wrote. There's not a whole lot to go on. I kind of gave you pretty much everything in it, I think. But, I went through it pretty quick. I didn't really reread it. So, if there's more you need, here it is. And if anyone wants to make sure you hit like while you're here, that's a super helpful thing to do. Let me go back to my thing here. Now, did I miss anything? I hope I didn't. If I did, feel free to ask a question a second time. Abraham Whipple. Prudence Wright will be coming up this week. Name's escaping me. John Jacob Astor. There it is. Will be coming up this week. And I'm going to be writing about Samuel Shaw, who was the first diplomat sent from the United States to China. First by the our Continental Congress, and then by George Washington. He got sent back. Don't want to talk too much because, I want to leave myself something to talk about on Wednesday. And also, I haven't written the articles yet, so I have a little bit more research to do before I talk intelligently. Do you know any books related to Christopher Green? I've tried to find some specifically talking about him, but it's hard to find out what the truth is and what the myth is. I do think so. It's not specifically about him, but Christopher Green is the... Christopher Green was a Rhode Island... Lieutenant Colonel, I think was his office, who, I don't know if he made his way up past there, might have been a colonel, who had the first integrated, actually, I will just pull up the article I wrote about him, the first integrated, personal wrong buttons, unit, what's the term, regiment in the Continental Army? Green. Uh, Matt, with the unnamed disease vaccine coming out, I thought it might be good. Benjamin Waterhouse. I will bring it up. I think did you bring that up the other day? I will check that out. Let me look into Waterhouse. I will. I know very little about him. I know kind of just the name and the peripheral. So I will actually put real quick. I will pull up a thing because you're right. I should be doing clickbaity things like that. It would get me more readers. Benjamin Waterhouse. Waterhouse. Benjamin Waterhouse. Newport, Rhode Island. Man, he lived a long time. Oof, into his 90s. Rembrandt Peale. Portrait by Rembrandt Peale. And a portrait by Gilbert Stuart. Oh man, he got all the good artists to sign his to paint his picture. I guess not all of them. There were a lot of them. Christopher Green. And the book is called... No. That's not the book. Oh, I wrote this article a long time ago. That's the problem here. Rhode Island Soldiers. I know the cover. I can't think of the name. But, like... First... No, it's not the 1st Rhode Island Regiment. I know the cover in my head. Who? Waterhouse was John Adams' roommate in the Netherlands? Well, I'm digging into him this week, Matt. Don't you worry. I'm super curious. Island Soldiers book. It's got like the cartoon on the front. There it is, From Slaves to Soldiers. I think this is... I don't know if it's specifically about Christopher Green. Varnum proposed a historic plan. Let me see if it even pops up here. No, his name isn't in this. I will look into that, S. I will. You covered Honeyman, a secret agent for Washington to help at Trenton. I have not heard of the name Honeyman yet. John Honeyman. Let's see. Okay. Oh, he was already pretty old when the Rev War broke out, huh? Irish American, soldier spy. Another guy lived to his 90s. Look at that. Spreading disinformation. Okay. I'll look into it for you. Oh. Okay, Waterhouse was the one who introduced the cowpox vaccine. He's the one who named it vaccine because vac is Latin for cow or something like that. I have heard about this. That's where I knew the name. Michael Troy from the American Revolution podcast in one of his episodes did talk about this a little bit. He has a really fascinating episode where, over there he's going through the American Revolution chronologically for the most part. But he does stop in one episode to talk about disease. Came out in like April, maybe like right when COVID came out, where he talks about disease. And then he has another episode where he's done one, maybe two interviews at this point, where he interviews a doctor who also has studied the time period. So yes, I have heard the name Waterhouse. That is where I heard it. Perks of being related to a doctor. Yeah, you get to be a subject, especially back then. This is just for fun. With all your knowledge of the time period, do you think it could manage if dropped in? Do I think I could manage if dropped into the time period? No. No. Growing up in the United States, we are very soft. There are very few people from nowadays who I think, no matter how tough you are, would necessarily have been able to survive pleasantly back then. Now, I want to have lived back then. That's why one of the reasons I'm so infatuated with it. I like the idea where 90% of people are farmers, and we take care of ourselves and do a little work on the side to pay our taxes and support our community. But, I have so much trouble growing food in my garden that I would not make it. Yeah, you know what? I am gonna keep looking for the Christopher Green book though, while we talk, because I don't. No, yeah. It's really frustrating because Christopher Green. Now I'm all over the place. Now I'm all over the place. Look what you've done to me. Um, I don't remember. Yeah, was that the battle for? Okay, integrating Rhode Island's first regiment. Uh, got the state legislature to pass a law allowing slaves to fight for their freedom. Christopher Green, right? And then the book is Slaves and Soldiers. It's weird that his name is not in the like description for this book, but yeah, there's a book called. Uh, I mean, I have it on Google Books here. I'll put this link up for you. No, I'll send you to Amazon. Let me take a second to do it right because you asked so nicely. Let me find it. Let me find it. Amazon. Here we go. From slaves to soldiers. There we go. Pull it up. Will we? Oh, I gotta hit enter. Okay, I'll hit enter and then we'll pull it up. There we go. Hardcover, $26. That's alright. You'll be able to choose hardcover or Kindle. There's no paperback. Well, what? Well, here, I'm gonna put it over here. You can feel free to look around for a better price. I will note, if you click on this link, this is actually my affiliate link, so I will get a few cents and your price will stay the same. So if you want to support this site, 50 cents at a time, this is your opportunity to. Let me go back here to my stuff. Not only that living back then would have been horrible. If you've ever read Joseph Plum Martin's book, 2/3 of it is about him saying the starving in the cold in the Continental Army. Yeah, sure. I will also note, though, most people were not in the Continental Army. And also, be a little careful. Joseph Plum Martin is a very... I need to write about him, too. He's hard to tackle, because he's a really interesting resource, because it's one of the most thorough accounts of a soldier in the Continental Army, but he also wrote it to sell books, and some of it, historians trust most of it, but historians are also very skeptical about certain claims that are made. So be cautious when reading Plum Martin. Again, I haven't written about him because I'm not sure how to tackle him. I don't want to make him look bad, like he was a soldier, he fought for his country, but you gotta be half a hill of rice and a tablespoon of vinegar. Yeah, exactly. So, is that true? I mean, probably. Things seem pretty shitty. I'm sorry. Things seem pretty crappy at Valley Forge. I'll be honest with you, but we don't know. We don't know. Some of the things that Martin says are be cautious with. If you want to read a cool primary account, actually, Henry Dearborn. It's Henry Dearborn, right? He's the one that wrote the book, right? Let me double check myself. I don't want to send you in the wrong. I know it's a future Secretary of War. I want to make sure I got the right future Secretary of War. Yes, Henry Dearborn. Excuse me, who would be Thomas Jefferson's Secretary of War for all 8 years. He kept a really interesting journal, and he didn't write it later on like Plum Martin did. He kept it as a journal during. He joins Benedict Arnold's harrowing trek through the Maine wilderness to fight in the Battle of Quebec, during which they eat Henry Dearborn's dogs. And then he's part of the retreat down south. So if you really want to read a fun first-hand account, Henry Dearborn. Because he's writing it at the time. It's his journal. And then he does, like he says, while Plum Martin goes on to write a book and try and be a little popular, Henry Dearborn becomes Secretary of War. So he's a little more credible source. His book is a bit hard to read. He pulls out weird measurement systems. Yeah, the line was 40 rods away from me. Then I looked up what a rod was in measurement. It's funny you say that. I did the same thing when I was looking at the survey from my house when I bought my house. I've spoken about Honeyman before. He was the old man pretend to be a loyalist and almost hanged as a spy several times. He lived behind enemy lines. I don't remember. I feel like a name like Honeyman I would recall, but it's possible. Like I said, 900 founders that I've written about. I'm certain they do get lost in my mind. That's why I've been begging for a time machine. Well, I mean, you want to get into time travel. That's a whole other discussion. That's not what this channel's about. Theoretically, we're traveling through time. Right now, we're headed at the speed of light to the future, is my understanding. Yeah, and I want to reflect on the measurement in rods. I read this decades ago, but, and again, I know football is coming on in a few minutes, so this is partially relevant. Back then, they used to do surveying with chains, and the chains were a certain distance, and that's how they would like use the rods and the chains. And nowadays, if you watch football, they use a chain to mark first downs. They are measuring yards with the chain, and that actually has its roots in surveying from even before this, the 18th, 17th, 16th centuries. George Washington would use chains to mark, to survey. The chain was not going to change lengths. It wasn't going to break, so they knew how the distance. Now, the measurements were different. It wasn't necessarily the 10 yards they use in football now, but I thought that was really interesting. Yet another way the American founding still affects our lives to this day. I'm going to take a sip of water. This might be the longest I've got, 40 minutes without sipping water. Ugh. What are we thinking? Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't have to go all day. I'm having a lot of fun here. I hope you are too. I will remind you, for anyone who popped in, I did create a Discord channel. I'm not super familiar with Discord, so we might need a little help, but it's just Founder of the Day, one word, I think. I should check it out and make sure. Oh no, it's spaced out. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it. While I'm waiting for you guys to ask a question, I will pop it up here. How about this? Is it? Nope, that's the book I was looking for. Well, I did it wrong. Can I change my window capture? Let's see. No, none of it. Nope. Not while I'm on the fly. Maybe not. Maybe not. Cancel. Coming back. I did my best. You have an invite link. I do have an invite link. It says invite people, which I have not done yet. We'll definitely join it. Okay, sweet. Help me out. I have an invite link on the Discord, so I can just give it to you now. So I'm in the app. I know I sound really naive when I'm saying this. I'm in the app right now. It says invite people. So I'm going to hit invite. General Wolf when he was fatally shot. Interesting. Share this link. Hidden. Use copy button. Link invites him one day. Alright. Well, I'll see if I can paste it here. We'll see how that works. I'm trying. Oh, duh. Right here. Oh, you mean right at the bottom of the conversation? There. We'll see if that works. Hopefully it does. And then I want to come back to me. Here we are. Again, I have a bunch of things on there. I need to set up the welcome page. There's a place for announcements. I have a general discussion area where we can chat shit all day long. Like I said, for those of you who are not familiar, it's kind of like a social media app. We have our own servers for just Founder of the Day, talk about the American Revolution. A spot for events for anyone who might want to put up something that's happening. I have a spot for ideas and feedback that you want me to do, although this seems to be a good opportunity for that. I also have a few things that might just be for those of you supporting me on Patreon. There is one section for the book of the season instead of a book of the month, but I also have an opening for reading of the week. I think we can use this to do other types of chats or group meetings. I really want to, first of all, make myself lighter again, but I really want this to be as informative for you guys as possibly can. And I think Discord is a good way to do that because we can comment more regularly instead of just waiting for the live videos. If you have a question, you know, you can put it up to the whole group. So that'd be fun, I hope. If not, we will stop. But thank you for your help, S. I really appreciate that. Honeyman was one of the people who carried General Wolf after he was fatally shot. Alright, well, I did pull up... Did I pull up Honeyman? I did, right? Pretty sure I did. We'll double check. Yes, John Honeyman. One of the many people I've pulled up. I got a lot of writing to do. I don't see an image of his face, though. No, that's kidding. That's kidding. Yeah. We got some great questions today. I can go further into the bank in New York if you want. Dang, now I really know more on him. Well, okay. Give me a break. I read a whole lot about Benedict Arnold this week. Was reading about his time. Apparently, right before he was accused by an app called Amino. Okay. I will. Type it in right now. So one of the problems I have is there's like so many different outlets we can use that like I'm kind of going with the standard ones that I know about. Because, authentic mobile communities for whatever you're into. Well, I'm into a lot of stuff. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it's slowing me down. What did you do to me, Ashley? Or who said it? Misfit. What did you do to me? Alright, I'll look into it later. I thought I did. I thought I did post the invite. Let me make sure. Yes, I did. Right after Misfit said fatally shot. Let's see. Paste it again. Where am I? Didn't post. Did the link to the book post before? I don't know. It's weird because the program I use to go live says to do it, says to sign in. So I can't, you know, I gotta remember. I don't know. I put it there. I don't know what to do. Let me see. Can I sign in here? This action cannot be performed. Open the chat in a web browser. Okay, I'll open it in a web browser. Oh, is that the way I'm supposed to do it? YouTube Live. Oh, okay. I can now pen messages to the top of the chat. Well, look at this. I'm learning something new. So this is something I could never do. I had to do it. Did that come through? Let me see if that comes through. I never wanted to take risks like this live because it's boring. Luckily, you guys are being very patient. And it's study hall. We're all studying and learning things together. Remember to abide by our policy. Let me know if you guys see that. I don't see that coming up here. Nothing I post seems to come up. Let me type. I'm going to type it. Does this post? Question mark. Oh, okay. That came up. But the links didn't. So what if I just type in the link? https://discord.gg/h_FURYJD. Did that work? No. It doesn't let me post links? Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to go back to the book. Because I want to make sure you have access to that S. Thank you for telling me it didn't post. It is titled officially From Slaves to Soldiers, the 1st Rhode Island Regiment in the American Revolution by Robert Geek and Lauren Spears. Alright, so make sure you get that book. Did that work? Who am I? Where am I? Oh, did the Discord post at one point? Yeah, sorry guys. I'm trying. uh, yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah, no problem, man. It's very interesting that the when I type in a link, it doesn't post. Anything else I type posts. I guess they don't want. I guess YouTube doesn't want to link away from YouTube because you know what? I have posted other YouTube videos in the link, and that's worked fine, just fine. Oh, the algorithm. Yeah. I suppose I could invite you directly. I wonder if I could post it in the description. Hold on. I'm gonna see what kind of trickery I can use. Oh no, I can't edit the description once we start. Things are tough. My life is so tough right now. Ugh. Create a highlight video? There's a lot of fun stuff I can do live, apparently. Don't know how to do it. Well, the Discord name, I'm under the impression, is Founder of the Day's server. Founder of the Day, space between the words. Invite people. You know what I'll try and do after this is done? I think I can put up, like, it's called, alright, bye, Ashley. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, let me know. I can post it in a comment. That's a good idea, Misfit. I can literally go here and I can wait for it to load. I need to get a new graphics card so my computer can handle a little bit more. And then I can go to comments. No. I can go in here. Oh, and I might be able to edit it. Right at the top. Well. Here's the Discord link. And then I will save it. And either everything went to crap, or if you go in the Discord link, it says, you know, have a question, and then it says, let's talk about founders, and then it says, here's the Discord link. So, let me know if that works. Post in the comments. Have to be out this way too. Yeah. Thanks for coming, Grace. Yeah, Matt, I think you can, if you go to Patreon, because you're one of the Patriots, you can go to Patreon and then go to their homepage. They have like an app page, and if you click and download it through Patreon, allegedly, you will get automatically signed up to Founder of the Day. So you have a little bit easier of a path, even though that sounds very complicated. I actually made a video explaining this to the Patriots that I am just uploading. Was going to put out tonight. Well, I have a few videos that I made that are getting uploaded. And I'm probably going to space out throughout the week. 4-digit number. I'm not sure what you mean by 4-digit number. If there's like, is there like a passcode? I hope there's no passcode. Add a server. Explore public servers. Yeah, Discord seems like it's cool. I don't know a lot about it, but it seems pretty cool once we get the hang of it. I'm not sure what the boosts are or anything of that nature. Thank you everyone for coming. Who's leaving? This is fun. Yeah, I don't know why the invite people only has the link. Let me know if you see it. Now I'm like waiting on you guys. Yeah, as you know, like, I mean, I'm not super tech savvy, but you know, I've been a gamer my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, I understand the appeal of it. I know what it's supposed to do. It's not quite as user friendly as some of the other places. Although, to be honest, a lot of social media isn't that user friendly. Like, since I started Founder of the Day, like my time on Facebook, I realized Facebook should be way easier to use as far as from the business perspective side of it, because I run Founder Day as like a business account. Anyway, yeah, it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be really cool because I've had several of you contact me through different social medias saying, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see that?" And it's all really interesting and relevant and fun. So if we can get one place to, instead of just sharing it with me, share it with everyone, then that's how we build a community. And that's how we all learn together. That's kind of the point of this channel, is to help everyone learn more about the revolution. Because there's stuff I don't know. Like technically everything I write about, not everything, I shouldn't say that. I definitely save some information for when I need to get an article done and can't think of anything new. But about 80% of what I write is stuff I just learned this week, because there's so much new stuff. Like I was about to say with the Benedict Arnold stuff, I didn't know he was about to leave the army and go start a settlement in western New York, around where I live, and retire, when Joseph Reed kind of put him in a corner and forced his hand on treason, depending on how you see it. If there are any other questions or anything else I need to do for the Discord or anything like that, I'm here. If not, we can start wrapping it up. It's been about an hour. Ooh, I'm also going to cover Samuel Hartwell Shattuck, who I don't know if Misfit, if you're still here. Wait, who's the one who asked about Prudence Wright? Was that you or was that Ashley? I'm sorry if I confused you guys. I know someone brought it up earlier. I think it was you. Either way, you can't figure it out. Yes, Misfit. So I ran into Sarah Hartwell Shattuck, who worked with Patience Wright to create that militia, and she was the spouse of Job Shattuck, who would lead the Shattuck Riots, I believe is what they called it, which was kind of a prelude to Shays' Rebellion in Massachusetts. So, fun. Can't figure it out. You learn a lot of fun facts coming about the Founding Fathers. Yes. So, Benedict Arnold was allegedly involved with, as were several other high-ranking members of Vermont society, in talks to cede Vermont to the British. Although this seems to have been more of a scare tactic to the states, because Vermont wanted to become a state, and it was taking too long. And it's hard to tell if there was if they were really serious about it. Although truthfully, we'll never know. Maybe, probably not. I will say, yeah. Like I said, Matt, if you go on Patreon, you'll have to go through. If you go to their homepage. Let me see. Let me see what I can do here. Oh, now it came up. Okay, great. That's literally our conversation. Don't worry about it. But if you go to Patreon, then they should have. I'm hoping it doesn't show any of my passwords or anything of that nature. Oh, nope. Well, don't look at that. I'm part of an alumni association, and we are putting together a Patreon page for that, and it's going to keep coming up. Okay, so I guess I can't go to home? Weird. I tried. Yeah, that's a side project I'm slowly working on. That's true. I will tweet out I was thinking that, I will tweet out and Facebook out the link as soon as we close up here. And then that will be fun and give you access to it. It seems like people are slowly shuffling off. So if we want to call it now, this was fun. If you have questions over the week, you can always contact me directly, or you can save it and share it here, or we can figure out how to use Discord and share it there and all talk about it together, which I think would be a lot of fun. And honestly, the easiest way for me to access. in my personal life, I avoid a lot of social media because it stresses me out and it's terrible. Oftentimes, not all of it. Not the founder of the day stuff, of course. So unfortunately, that makes me a little slow to respond on social medias, which is one of the appealing things about Discord is I can know what you guys and not have to be concerned and just answer it. So we'll check that out. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to wrap it up. Tomorrow there will be a video. I forget who I made it about. I made it yesterday. You'd think I'd remember. And further videos throughout the week and articles on founderoftheday.com. Yada, 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 yada. Thank you so much. Bye, Misfit. Matt, S, Grace, whoever else is left over. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll be back with another founder tomorrow. And I need to sign off. So